Should we start now or should we wait like to 2:05?
I guess we'll just wait until 2:05, just so any other students that would like to join us, they can join. Um, we'll wait until then and then we'll just start. Okay. Hmm. Okay, I guess we'll just start right now. So welcome everyone. Thank you for participating in this event. I'm Jocelyn Molina, and I'm one of the peer advisors for Etox. I'm also the president for the Etox Club. So to start off, this is an informal student-led panel to talk about college life and being an Etox student. So for this first activity that we'll be doing will be introductions. And so we have a couple panelists here. They're all current Etox students. So they'll talk about college life, and I do have some prepared questions that we'll go through. So to start off, we'll do some introductions. And at the start, can you please state your name, year, emphasis if you have one. So for any incoming students, an emphasis is a designed area that you would like to know more about. And for example, like medicine or ecology or public health, it's a certain area within Etox that you would like to further know. So yeah, I'll start off first and then we'll go on to the other panelist. So like I said, I'm Jocelyn Molina. I'm a fifth year and my emphasis is ecology. And I guess an interesting fact about me is I like the color green. I'll stop sharing now. And so we'll go on to our other panelists. Janae?
Hi, everybody. I'm a third year toxicology major here at UC Davis. I also happen to be the vice president of Etox Club, so if you guys are interested in that, you should go check it out. I'm emphasis in public health at the moment, and I really love backpacking.
Hello, my name is Jeff Eichler. I'm a transfer student, and this is my third year at UC Davis. My emphasis is aquatic toxicology, and something interesting about me is I'm from Wyoming, so probably the only person you know from Wyoming.
Hi everyone, my name is Cristela Samaniego. I am a fourth year. My emphasis is in medicine, and one interesting fact about me is I love cooking, but I'm terrible at baking. So yeah, I'm trying to get better at that, but it's not working.
So I'm Brandon Matsumoto. I'm a third year. I'm also your second peer advisor. I have a pre-med
Yay.
emphasis. And I guess the interesting fact is I like botany.
Okay, so these are all of our panelists for today. So to get to know them further, I've prepared some questions. So we'll start off. with my first question. So, did you enter UC Davis as a freshman or transfer student, and how did you feel about your first quarter at UC Davis? We'll just go in alphabetical order, and we'll start off with Janae.
Hi, so I started as a freshman. I wasn't actually a Etox student when I started. I changed majors about a year in because I fell in love with it. But for me, starting as a freshman, I loved campus. I loved the people on campus, but I was pretty homesick, which was difficult, which might be a little bit different from some of you, seeing as though maybe not as many people are living in the dorms right now. But being able to meet a lot of different diverse people and getting to know everybody was a really good time. It was a little bit of a steep learning curve getting used to the quarter system just because it does go so quickly, but once you kind of got a handle on it, everything starts to sail a little bit smoother.
So I mentioned earlier that I'm a transfer student. I came from Mesa College in San Diego, transferred up here on a transfer agreement. And, you know, the first quarter, it was a little tough just because, like Janae said, it goes a lot quicker in the quarter system. And so as soon as you get into the groove, or you think you're starting to get in the groove, it's already time for midterms. And so you got to play a little catch up if you're used to a little bit slower system. So, yeah.
So I came in, I was a freshman when I came in. And so for me, like everyone, it was so fast paced. I was really excited. I wanted to meet new people. I always heard about the college life. But exactly like everyone said, once it's fast paced and it's 10 weeks, and then you got midterms, and then you got next midterms, the grading system's different, everything's just different. It's so hard. It took me a while to get adjusted to it. I was homesick as well, and I wasn't even that far away from home. And I kind of was lucky. I came in with friends from my hometown, so it kind of lessened the feeling, but it's a really different experience when you're on your own. And hopefully when you guys get to go back and everything is not back in remote learning, it will be good.
So yeah, I mean, as a freshman, you face all the cliches, like it's pretty fast, it's hard, you're homesick, but I mean, I know you guys heard it enough. It's a lot different for you guys, but freshman year was like one of the best years. I think it's a year of a lot of fun. So hopefully it's the same for you guys.
Yeah, exactly like everyone else said. The change of pace was quite different coming from a high school semester system and then going to a quarter system is quite different. Sometimes it feels kind of rushed because you start from like syllabus week and then like 2 weeks later it's like already a midterm and you're just like, where has the time gone? So yeah, so I felt like my first quarter I was a little anxious because I felt like obviously kind of homesick and also kind of nervous because it was a different environment. It's different class, like new people, and it was an interesting time. That's how I can say, because you're so open as well to make friends and you're so open to like different like opportunities. And yeah. Okay, so going on to my second question, were there any difficulties you encountered? If so, what resources did you use to help you?
So I think for me, on terms of difficulties, you have a lot more free reign for choosing your classes than I ever did in high school. And for me, that choice is a little bit terrifying. Like, what classes do I take? What should I be looking at? Should I be trying to get stuff for a minor already? I found that meeting with my peer advisors, I tried to do it once a quarter. I thought that was really, really helpful. Because I know you guys probably already have your classes already set up. Maybe even have a 2-year or even a 4-year plan going. And I think having that was really essential for me, just because I had something laid out that I could know that, okay, here's what I need to take then, and here's what I need to take after that. So I think that was really helpful. And just getting to know the peer advisors and being able to ask them questions is kind of essential, I think, for my first year.
Yeah, as your second peer advisor, I mean, if you guys ever need any help, I hope you feel free to come to me or Jocelyn. And if we can't help you, we will always find you help. I think the hardest thing for me is adjusting to the classes, especially when you have to do Gen Chem and OChem. And there's a lot of tutoring services for you. Davis is pretty great because they always have some sort of like help for you. You just need to have help finding it, and that's what Jocelyn or I could do. But yeah, I mean, I hope you feel free to talk to us.
I think some of the difficulties I encountered is pretty typical to a lot of students, whether it's just doing some research about a paper, some difficulties on a specific subject. And it was easy for me to find those resources during the indoctrination of or orientation of when I came. They kind of went through many opportunities that you can go use. So when I was having difficulties in like physics, not only office hours I was using, but there was also a tutoring center that I used. And then also for like research, you can go to the library, and the library, I think it's on the 3rd floor. They have some librarians that will help you, guide you in narrowing your research down a little bit easier, so that way you can get good articles to use for your research. So yeah, there's a bunch of resources. It's just finding the resources to help you in your situation.
So going off with what Jeff said, I needed tutoring, like in a specific subject like writing. And so when I came in, I had to take the writing exam, and I didn't do good in it. So I kind of was held back in like workload shops compared to my friends. And so for that, I would always go to the Student Academic Success Center. And so it's SASC, and that's called SASC, and it's a really big tool for everyone to use. But there's another tool that I use as well, was another resource, which is the Educational Opportunity Program. Since it was really difficult for me being stronger in math and science than writing. And when you have your schedule, like Janae said, you have to figure out what works for you, and then you have to schedule these tutoring sessions, these office hours to fit in, and it's so difficult. But like Brandon said too, there's multiple resources. There is the SASE, but then I also went to the Educational Opportunity Program if my schedule didn't fit in. And there's other resources as well. And I do want to mention one other difficulty for me was my finances. It was really important for me to get a job as soon as I can. So I took the first quarter just to get situated to adjust to how life was going to be and see if I could hack it with a job. And so that's whenever I went to the Internship and Career Center. So that's the ICC. And so I was able to find a job with my friend, and it was the telephone outreach program. And all these resources, they offer different, and it's really diverse. They offer different things and different tools for you to use, and it's just how you use them and use them for your benefit. So yeah, definitely recommend those.
Yeah, so like how Jeff and Christella said, for me personally, I found it difficult taking OChem. It was in my sophomore year, but I that was one of those times where I was like having difficulty. I was just like, this is very different from high school. It's a whole different like material that you're learning. And so I found it helpful going to the Academic Assistance and Tutoring Center. It's in the same location as where Sassy is, like like how Christella said. And so I found it really helpful because they offered workshops and co-classes. So if you're having any difficulty in like physics, calculus, statistics, chemistry, They have a bunch of workshops and classes that you can take, and you can sign up. Some of them you can have units for them, and I highly recommend them because honestly, I felt like it saved me. But yeah, going on to my third question.
Wait, I just wanted to note, usually all these programs like SASTI are on
Mhm.
campus in their designated buildings, but because of COVID, everything's online, and so accessing them is a little bit easier than usual. So,
Oh yeah. They have like Zoom appointments, and if you go onto their website, which I'll link in a little bit, you can go on there and you can actually look when they have scheduled meetings, and you can sign up to them. Okay, so my third question is, how did you get involved with others and make friends?
So I know it's always kind of that daunting idea of meeting new people, but fear not with this one because everybody's in the same boat and everybody's looking for new friends. So there's going to be no shortage of people who are going to want to meet you and be excited to get to know you. Um, when I was a freshman, this was a couple years ago, I was in the dorms, so that made things a lot easier. So for people who are in the dorms, they'll be able to meet people around them, form study groups. For people who aren't in the dorms, just based on the current situation, if you're not, there's still hope. Um, a lot of people will meet other people through classes, forming study groups, asking questions, office hours. There's like, Davis is a really large school and there's going to be no shortage of people who are going to want to get to know other people. And it's simple as just kind of saying hi and asking questions and just opening up to talk. So people like talking, at least if you're me. So there's no shortage of opportunities to do that. You can get involved in clubs or other, virtual on-campus activities. And there's a lot going on.
So for me, I feel I'm naturally an introvert, which kind of makes it difficult to meet people and kind of forge relationships. So one thing that I did to help overcome that was, I think there's a movie about it. I just say yes to a lot of things, and that kind of forces me to get out there. So an email comes up that says, hey, there's a toxicology club or Etox club study night, and you just commit to it and you go to it, and other people that are there are not necessarily introverts, and they're willing to bring you into the fold a little bit, and so that helps if I just say yes. So student panel, yes, now I'm here and I'm talking to you guys and you see me, and hopefully if we get back to real campus, we'll actually maybe see face to face too. So just say yes.
I totally agree with both of them. When I came in, I was part of the special transitional enrichment program. And so that's kind of where I did my orientation. And when I met people at orientation, we've actually stuck together throughout the 4 years. And so if I met someone and then it kind of was like branch out like a network, where you start making connections with other people, even though I wasn't in their major or I didn't know anything about it. Say if my friend had an event and wanted or invited me to go, then I would go and then I would meet more people. Exactly like Janae said, it just starts by a hi, hello, or what's your name, what's your major? Usually that's where it goes from, and then you make these everlasting connections and friendships that you'll hopefully you carry it out through life. I've been carrying it for these 4 years, so hopefully they continue on.
yeah, I think like Jeff said, be a yes man for a little bit. If you're sitting next to someone in lecture, which I mean, you guys can't, but when you guys come back, you say hi, you ask to study with them. Everyone wants to be friends with someone, and there's definitely not a shortage. But hopefully you guys can find a way with like, maybe Discord groups or like messenger groups. But yeah.
Yeah, so I think for me, I got involved through clubs. Like you guys can join the Etox club. Um, yeah, so I joined the Etox club, I think my freshman year, and so I met a bunch of friends through there, and I also formed a lot of study groups. I know it might be difficult this quarter because it's remote learning. But if you can contact people or you have group activities, I highly recommend talking to people, getting to know, and that's how you'll make friends. And I know I did that in my, I think my Mat 17A course. Yeah, I like sat next to some people and we just like formed a study group and we're just like, okay, we're gonna study together on blah blah blah. So we just like kept talking, and then like even 5 years later, I'm still friends with them now. So I highly recommend just like, I don't know, like starting up a short conversation with one another, and eventually that might lead to a long-term friendship. So yeah. Okay, so my next question is kind of related to um, this one. So are you involved with any clubs or organizations on campus?
So as I mentioned earlier, I'm the VP for Etox Club. So there's that one. I'm also involved in the Regent Scholar Society from time to time, though, because of everything going on currently, they're not quite as active as they usually would be. So that's about it for me at the moment.
I kind of involve myself with 3 clubs. I'm not in any type of leadership roles in them, but I enjoy, just the fellowship with the Etox Club, and I part of a veterans, student veterans organization, as well as a cross country and track and field club.
So I joined when you start. I just joined a bunch of stuff, a bunch of clubs and organizations, but I stuck with one that resonated with my heart was the American Cancer Society. I have a brother who battled cancer. And then the pantries of fighting food insecurity, that's a really good one as well. I really definitely recommend anyone wants to go into that. And then another organization, which is more tiered to research, if we get the if we get the opportunity to talk about it, was MRAP, which is the Emergency Medicine Research Associates Program. And it's all about what you're interested in, and like we mentioned, it's a really good way to make contacts and to make friendships. It's a really good way to do that.
I'm not in that many clubs like everyone else, but occasionally I'll drop into like the Nintendo club or the Nerf club and have, their usual like fun games for the weekend. So there's a lot of clubs and they're all pretty chill.
Personally, I'm obviously involved with the Etox Club. I am the president. I'm also involved with the Chicano and Latino Academic Success Center. Yeah, it's a long name. But yeah, so for me, going off to college, I felt like I still needed to connect with people that probably had like the same cultural background as me. So I felt like I needed to connect with others in that way. So it's a center on campus, but they have a lot of resources online now. They have like webinars, Zoom meetings, just to catch up with others. And there's a lot of like different academic success centers on campus. And so if you feel the need that you want to connect with others that might have a cultural background like you, there are a bunch of on campus that you can look up and find. But yeah, those are some of the things that I'm involved with. Yeah, so I'll go on to my next question. So this might be an easy question, but what was your most favorite class and what was your most challenging class?
So for me, I think those two might have actually been the same class. I took a medical ethics course at the end of my freshman year that I thought was so intriguing and so interesting and so challenging because I'm very much a numbers-minded person. I'm really, really great at doing, working through steps of math problem, but being asked to write an argumentative essay is a little bit more difficult. So I love the topics and I love everything I got out of it, but man, that was a hard class.
So my favorite class, I'm kind of mechanical in what I like to do. So it's an Etox class. It's Etox 111, which is mass spectrometry. And it just gave me an opportunity to like get hands-on with equipment that we use in toxicology. So that was my favorite class. And my most challenging one, kind of twofold. One was like a specific physics. I don't know what the deal was. I just wasn't testing well. I ended up doing okay, but for some reason, the way that they test, I was just getting some bad grades. So I had to devote so much time into that one. And of course, you've kind of heard a little bit already, the terror of organic chemistry. And, it reminds me of this person that I was studying with. She said that she's never had to work so hard to be mediocre in her life. And so that's a pretty true statement with OChem. It's a challenge, that's for sure.
So my favorite class, I just took it in spring to fulfill the prerequisite for world culture and diversity. If you guys are looking right now to just fulfill and your first and second year, I took COM 006 and that was myths and legends. So if you're really interested in that, I was really entertained, and and when it comes to writing, it's like I mentioned earlier, I'm terrible at it, but I enjoyed writing about stuff about myths and legends. So if you guys want to check that out, it's really nice. And then my worst class is organic chemistry. You're going to hear that so much because for me, it was just so terrible. I got to the point where I probably had like multiple breakdowns. I would get so angry, like anything that anyone would say to try to help me, I just like, nope, I'm done. And then there was another point where I got so mad at myself, I couldn't draw the shapes of the organic chemistry of the molecules. So then I got graphing paper to try to help me. And it was just that class just doesn't, it just tests so much. It tests your note-taking skills too. I just wrote so much stuff, just trying to word by word what the professor said, because the professor I took it with, Dr. Nasiri, she was so smart. She literally didn't, she never went in with notes except for Chem 118B. And I was just like, man, this is hard. But I hope if anyone takes it and you're doing good in it, I applaud you, because to this day, I still get nightmares from that course.
I think my favorite class was Japanese 1, so that's JPN 001. And I really enjoyed it because I feel like the Japanese department is really welcoming. Another one I liked was UWP 001, which is what everyone will have to take. But I will say that it's not necessarily the class, it's really much the professor that makes it worthwhile. Because in both of those classes, the professors were really, really caring about the students. They always talked to me, they wanted me to learn more so than aim for the grade. And then obviously the worst one was OChem. Yeah, I don't think there's not a STEM major that does not have nightmares about it. It's not that bad, but it'll definitely be like your hardest class.
I would like to add, I know OChem does kind of have a bad rap, but it is definitely a really challenging class. The content I did enjoy, so there is some hope.
Mm-hmm. I think OChem is just one of those, it's just one of those courses that challenges you a lot. Like everyone said, it's just, it's a really challenging course, but I will say once you like kind of learn it, because Etox is kind of based on OChem. It's the foundation for Etox. So you do use it throughout your courses in the upper division courses. So I will say it's difficult, but there are a lot of resources on campus that will help you out. And like we said, the Academic Assistance and Tutoring Center, perfect place. They have a bunch of workshops that will help you out and literally will go through like reactions step by step so you can understand it. And they provide a lot of practice and worksheets and study material. So yeah, I will say that was my challenging course, just to add on to that. On a brighter note, one of my favorite courses was, I think, Etox 101. I love that class. It was one of my favorite courses. It's one of the first upper division courses you take as an Etox student. It's with Dr. Wood. You might have seen him if you attended the earlier session. It's a really nice class and like really informative, and kind of, if it's your first exposure to Etox, it kind of opens your eyes and sees like the opportunities in Etox and like what Etox is. And so that was one of my favorite classes. I will say another favorite of my classes that I recently took was an entomology course. It's ENT 104. It's behavioral insect ecology, which just sounds kind of weird if you don't like insects, but it was like a really interesting course that broke down just how insects act, behavior, their environment. Like, why do bees like do their hive in certain areas, or like why do beetles are in like dark humid areas, or things like that. It was a really interesting course, and I just fell in love with like entomology. Yeah.
I wanted to
Okay.
add just something about OChem, just like not it's the positive thing that I did. I don't want to overwhelm people with the negative. Was the positive is the labs. I thought the labs were really fun.
Mhm.
And for those of you like who like hands on and like love to like can see, you know, like actually just get involved more. That's what I really did like. Everything else, but the labs, I think any labs, if it's OChem or if it's biology, or physics, well, physics is more of a, you're always going to be kinesthetically doing stuff, but it's really fun. It's really interactive, and you learn how to actually practically apply your knowledge of OChem, which is something that's really entertaining. And for ETOX students, I love that portion of it. So yeah, don't want to think it's a positive of OChem.
Yeah, just to add on to that, I will say like the labs were my favorite, just because you're actually mixing chemicals, and for one of them you're actually like producing like a chemical. And so for me, my favorite thing was like, how much can I yield? Like if I had the highest yield, I was like, yes. It was one of my favorite things, because you just feel so badass. You just feel really cool. I'm sorry. But yeah, to go on to my next question was, have you done any internships or lab research? If so, how was your application process and what was it about?
So I have two answers for this one, actually. I'm on campus. I'm involved in the Canon lab, quote unquote, because she's based in the human ecology department, so it's not really a wet lab. She does a lot more thematic environmental justice research, which I think is super interesting. And for getting involved in that one, I met her when she was presenting on her research, and then we spent about 6 months kind of playing email tag before I was finally able to start doing things. So I think for that one, I think definitely was probably my commitment and passion to kind of, wanting to be part of this group. That was definitely something that kind of probably propelled me forward in getting involved. And then for the other one, during my summer and continuing the year, this summer and last summer, I've been able to be a student assistant at the Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment as part of Cali, PA in Sacramento. And that was an opportunity that I found through the Aggie Job Link, which is now Handshake. So that's something I monitor every once in a while to see what kind of jobs and opportunities are coming up. And I think it's super, super useful resources because it's all aimed directly at UC Davis students. So that was an application I saw come up the spring of my freshman year and decided to jump on it because I thought it was just such an intriguing opportunity. So cue me on the phone with my parents of, Mom, Dad, how on earth do I write a cover letter? So there's probably far better resources on campus for that. but that was what I had at that point. So it's just a lot of it is based on conveying your passion for what you're doing, because people like seeing people who are going to be committed to the work that they're doing. I think that's really, really important part of it. And also, just there's going to be a lot of opportunities that come up on campus, and if you're going to see the ones that you are interested in, and I say go for it. You know, the more you put yourself out there, the more opportunities you're going to have. So there you go.
So I do work in a lab. So it's a paid internship, but and I don't really do any of my own research. I just get a aid in PhD students' research for his project. But it's in Dr. Jordana's lab, who's in the Etox department. And the way that I applied to that, it was kind of not the traditional way. So initially, I met Dr. Jordana in, I think, an Etox game night kind of thing. And that was the first introduction. And then maybe a couple months later, there was a holiday party. And then the next year, we went on a hike together with the Etox Club. And during that time when we were just conversing, he said, well, you know, if you're looking for, you know, a place to intern, then let me know, and we'll see if we have an opening. And then so I contacted him last year, and he said, yeah, come on in. And so that's kind of how that worked out. And so in the lab, it's kind of analytical chemistry. We're researching, or the PhD students researching the partitioning of a pesticide.
So I actually have two research positions. One of them's clinical and one of them's more in the lab. So the first one is for, as I mentioned, the Emergency Medicine Research Associates Program. That was MRAP. So I applied during my second year, and one quarter, I believe it was the fall quarter, I got rejected. And so it was the application process, and I found it online. And once I was rejected, it kind of pushed me and motivated me to better prepare myself. And so once I reapplied again, I actually did end up going in. And for those of you who are interested in clinical research, MRAP is basically conducting clinical research in the emergency department of the UC Davis Medical Center. And the UC Davis Medical Center is it's located in Sacramento. So then that's where I started. And then I met Professor Lamarelle, but her lab was already full. So she actually recommended me to Professor Sasha Niklish, and he was new at the time. And so I emailed him, and exactly like Janae said, your email tagged me, just going back and forth. And then we met up, and then I just tried to see what if I could get any lab research, any type of exposure. Since I was new, I didn't have any type of actual lab work that I've done in the past. And so he said, yeah, of course. And so once I went in, he was so nice. For me, I was so glad that I had the opportunity to work with him, or I'm still working with him, because as I mentioned, knowing that my brother battled cancer, it was something I always wanted to research. And Dr. Niklish's research is how the bioaccumulation of these toxicants enter your body and how they transform. And so I pitched him to him that I wanted to do something in cancer. So then right now I'm working on P-glycoprotein and how P-glycoprotein variants affect chemotherapy-induced peripheral neurotoxicity. And so it's something I am very dedicated to, something I do want to learn and expand on in the future. It's keeps on evolving, the study of CIPN, and it's super crazy how it evolved in the first place. And so, yeah, there's multiple ways you could do it. A lot of it is, like Janae say, cover letters and just trying to make yourself sound good in writing. And then the professors will meet with you if they want to take a chance on you and see if you're passionate, like Janae said, if you're passionate about your work and they see that you're committed, and then they will keep vouching for you.
So I work in one of the greenhouses under Dr. Jackson Gross, and I work on aquaponics and aquaculture. So how you get about that? So as a peer advisor, you can come to me. You know, sometimes we get professors asking for, you know, saying we have an open slot. There's also the ICC, which is the Internship and Career Center, or Handshake, where a lot of professors will also go asking for assistance. How I got mine, however, was I was always interested in aquaculture. I found a professor that studied aquaculture on campus. I hit him up on email. I said, hey, I'm really interested. Would you be willing to take me on as an intern? Um, I think the best thing you can do is be honest, clear, and concise, because all professors know that a lot of you ask for research for grad school, or, you know, if you're saying, oh, I think your research is cool, they know you're asking for, you know, an internship. And if you aren't honest, then they don't like that. But if you're honest, you know, they're always willing to take a chance. And just send an email, because regardless, the worst they'll say is no, or they'll always usually give you time to talk or recommend you to someone else. So yeah.
Just one last thing I wanted to add about this was the peer advisors, we do a newsletter throughout the quarter, sometimes weekly, sometimes bi-weekly. And on that newsletter, we have a bunch of internship opportunities that we will select that are sometimes related to fields within Etox or just like chemistry, biology that would seem like really a really good opportunity for students to apply to. And so we send that out. So if you're ever interested in an internship opportunity, keep that out. Keep your eye out on that. Yeah. So my last and final question that we can all relate to is, how did you adjust to remote learning? What did you do? What do you recommend students to do?
So for me, it's definitely was changed to it's very much more you have to be almost entirely self-motivated for it, because classes tend to be when you want classes to be, because they're pre-recorded and pre-uploaded. Um, so not having a schedule was a little more difficult for me. I think for two things that it's kind of important to remember, it's again, it's all self-motivated. So you have to kind of keep yourself on target and not get, you know, 3 organic chemistry lectures behind. That's not good. That's not smart. Don't do that. So just got to keep up with your classes, which is really important. But then also secondly, make sure you take some time to have non-class time, because for me, having my computer right here in front of me makes it really easy for me to feel like all of my day needs to be productive hours, because I can spend all of my time on classes. So you start to feel like you need to eat, sleep, breathe your classes, and that's not healthy for anyone. So get up, go out for a walk, go sit somewhere and eat your food, not in front of your computer. Spend some time giving yourself some love. It's really, really important, right? Especially right now of all times.
Yeah, it's been a difficult adjustment for me. Before, my routine would be I would go to class, or I would go to campus early in the morning. Even if I didn't have class or not, I would try to go there fairly early and then just study at campus. Because if I'm there, then yeah, you can still, you know, sit there on your phone and waste, you know, not waste time, maybe, you know, do some socializing, but do some sort of thing other than studying. But still, it was away from where I at home. And so when we moved to online, I found out that if I don't want to study, then I have all these other things to do in the house, like, I don't know, dishes, because, you know, you want to do dishes other than study, right? so so yeah, it was just about trying to really remove those distractions at home. And so and then also just have the discipline to say, well, yeah, there's these other things to do, but I have to do this. And unfortunately, it wasn't just a switch that I could turn. It just took a little bit of time and a little bit of like learning that, oh man, I'm behind. I can't let that happen again. And so it just took a little, took some time for me to get used to it. So there's no magical switch other than just recognizing how your time is being used and where the waste is at.
I agree with both of them, and like we're still all adjusting. I'm still adjusting, and it's so difficult because even when we were there on campus, every class is different. It's none of them are going to be the same. So like for me, with whenever it was spring quarter and this summer, I just roll over, just like okay, it's already 8:55. Class starts at 9. Just log in, and I would just put the video off and mute it. But then there's some professors who they want you to be proactive, and they want you to conversate, show yourself. So then that was a really big motivating factor. I was like, you know what, okay, then I'll just get ready and make sure I look good and present myself well so that I communicate with my peers. And then one thing that I just did exactly like Janae said, just self-motivation. I would just hang out with my dogs or go outside with my dogs or do gardening, something I never did before because my parents love gardening. And then it would kind of get me like, okay, then since they're doing something, and my parents wake up so early, they wake up like at 4 or 5. And then since they wake up early, my mom starts the music. And so then I was like, okay, there's my cue. So it was kind of like it good in a way and then bad in a way where but it's really difficult. And I just remember the professors aren't the same place. Some professors you'll find they're going to be more stricter because they know it's remote learning, and others will be more lenient. They're still trying to figure everything out with this Zoom. There's always issues, complications with assignments, everything, and you'll probably see that when the quarter starts tomorrow. But everyone's in the same boat, and that's an unfortunate event that happened, but we'll get through this together.
I haven't really adjusted. I've more just like accepted the fact that this is it. But I think something great you can do is stick to your schedule that, your classes would normally be at. So if you have like a 7:30 class, still wake up for it and watch your lectures then. Otherwise, like Janae said, you'll get behind and that's never great. But you're also not alone. You have a lot of resources. This is how everyone's doing school, and everyone's just trying to work together to get it done. So don't worry about it too much.
Like everyone said, I feel that you have to kind of motivate yourself to actually be proactive in studying, doing your homework, because sometimes we do get comfortable that we're at home. This is like where I sleep, where I rest, and campus is where I study or I have class. So, one thing I would recommend is in your home or where you're available, you can kind of set up a study place where you can be studying in that location. I know some people also set up like time, like I'm going to study from this time to this time. That doesn't work for me personally. I have a bad habit of sometimes setting it up and then I feel disappointed when I don't do it because I procrastinate. So, what I tend to do is I'll write out a to do list on what I have to get done that week. And for me, I feel satisfied when I can cross something off and I see that, oh, I've turned in this assignment, the next assignment is this. So, something I would recommend is if you don't like scheduling every single day, is maybe do a to do list and try to write out your deadlines and what you have to do that week. Um, yeah. Um, so, those are all of the questions that I have. Now I'm going to open it up to all of you guys. So if you guys have any questions that you would like to ask the panelists, you can type it in chat or you can turn on your mic or video to ask us. We'll be here until like 4 p.m. So yeah, so if anyone would like to ask. We can also have a casual conversation if you guys would like that as well. If you guys just want to talk. Mhm. Okay, so Ira Joseph Gray in the chat, he said, no mic at the moment. Just wanted to say thank you and have a good day. Oh, thank you. Thank you for coming. I'm happy for like that all you guys showed up. Okay. Mm.
Is there any new students that are living in Davis, or are you all somewhere else?
Okay. So Madeline E. Tucker, she said, I'm a transfer living in SAC. And then Marlena Tele Diego, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing these. She's currently on campus. Jack Connolly, he's a freshman living in the Tercero dorms. Casey Fong, I'm staying at home, but I am from the Bay Area. Melanie Madrigal, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing these. I'm a first year staying at home for fall quarter. Amanda, I am staying at home in SAC. So I see a lot of people are like 2 people from SAC. Zaina Wali, I'm staying at home. I'm from Central Valley. Olivia Lim, staying at home as well. So I see most of you guys are at home. I'm currently in
Where did you
Davis.
transfer from?
Okay. I did see a question. Someone messaged me. How often does the Etox Club host study nights? So we usually tend to schedule them during like the middle of the quarter, like twice. It's kind of weird because you have 10 weeks, so it's kind of set up where every 3 to 4 weeks we kind of set up study nights so people can kind of, if there's any midterms that are coming up for any Etox courses as well as like OCAM courses or things like that that people can collaborate and study together, we usually tend to host like 2 study nights, 2 to 3 study nights a quarter. And it's going to be different this quarter, and depending on how quarantine lasts, they'll be through Zoom. So we'll have like Zoom meetings that are open for a certain duration, and we'll have people could just come in and we'll be studying together like that.
Usually in the past we'd provide food, but this might have to be a bring your own meal sort of event at this point. So
yeah, you can bring snacks and then we can see you.
we could all eat our snacks together separately in our own houses.
Yeah. Okay. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to say? Okay, another question that came through. What is the best way to make an appointment with a peer advisor? So most times you can just email us. Currently, because it's quarantine, most appointments are done through Zoom. So you can just email one of us, me or Brandon, and we'll schedule a Zoom appointment. If you don't want to do a Zoom appointment, sometimes we can just answer through email. Hopefully, at one point, we'll actually have in-person drop-in hours, and usually those are set up throughout the week, and we have a certain time that we're at Meyer Hall, the Etox apartments, like that building. There we usually have our drop-in hours on the 4th floor. I forgot the room number. It's been a while. But you can find us there, and we'll usually be there for like 2 to 3 hours depending. And you can just drop in, and we usually just like have one-on-one meetings.
Yeah, like
Okay.
Jocelyn said, you can just contact us. I added in both of our emails in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
I currently don't have hours set up, but I think Jocelyn, you have hours, right?
Yes, currently I have 2 to 4 p.m. It will change after the first week of instruction. I will post the updated out like drop-in hours, just because we're also kind of working with our schedule, so we're adjusting it to our schedule. Yeah.
I'd like to just give kind of like a heads up about the peer advisors. Like they actually have gone through a majority of the classes that you might take. And so that really helped me out when I saw a peer advisor when I first got here, because I had in my head, I was like, well, you know, I get decent grades. I can do this class, and this class all together. And, you know, they kind of set me straight and they said, you know, just because this 4-unit class and this they're both 4-unit classes, the level of effort that you're going to have to put forward for this class and this class are completely different. So it's like, you know, taking an OChem of physics and a BIS 101 at the same time, you'd be like, you know, that's a rough, because yeah, you could take maybe a 3 or 4-unit writing class and those 2 STEM classes, but if you're going to take 3 STEM classes, 4 STEM classes at the same time, then it just like you know, just so much more effort on your part. So that's a good thing to talk to the peer advisors about, is just which classes actually require a lot more effort, because some of them, even if you are a great science person, still take a lot more effort than something else with the same amount of units. So that's how I found it useful using the peer advisors. And then another thing, they have a couple, I didn't know about it, but there's like a kind of like a registrar's website where you can go, you can kind of see the history of classes, how they're offered. So like, you know, every other year, every odd year, there's this class offered. And by looking at that, then you can kind of schedule out, you know, maybe years in advance. Of course, you can't completely count on that, but you can kind of see, hey, you know, this class in the past has been offered every other year on an even year, and it's usually around, you know, a Monday or a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, or it's a Tuesday, Thursday class. So you can kind of get a feel if you're even going to have an opportunity to take that class in your 4-year term or 2 years, however long you're going to be here.
I did want to mention, Jeff, that was a really good point. When we're talking about like, you know, it is like Brandon said, it mentioned it earlier. It's the professors too who you take. And one that I always use, and I didn't mention it, was Rate My Professors. And it's a website where you could actually see the ratings on professors, people, students, whoever take them, they actually, you know, say like, oh man, they were good. And they like, exactly, they just rate the professor. So then it gives you an idea how the professor is going to be. And it was a really good tool. So for some professors, I took BIS 102 during the summer. And for some reason, like I just had to, needed to take it because it was like fall quarter. I had to take 2 classes that were only offered during fall quarter. So then I took BIS 102 during the summer, and this professor was really difficult. Like he was a grad professor, and like he was just so I don't know, like, and it's 6 weeks during the summer, it's reduced to 6 weeks. So you're learning all this information. You're there every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and you have a quiz 1 week, midterm next week, quiz next one, midterm again. And then it just goes to that cycle. And then, yeah, that was another difficult class for me. And it was just the professor, because when my friends took BIS 102, they were like, it's so good. And then I was like, let me see. I was like, what are you guys doing? And then I would see what their curriculum and the content that the professors teaching them. And I was like, oh man, I didn't learn that. Mine was like 10 times harder. And my roommate, I would always come back and I was like, I don't even know what I did on that quiz. So hard. And so that's another good tool if anyone wants to use it.
Mm-hmm. Just to add on, so Another source that you can use is the Dean's Office peer advisors. They go over general education, so GE courses. So if you need anyone like to check out which courses, which GE courses or requirements you need, you can check it out with them. I am aware they do have Zoom appointments on their website, I think. I haven't checked, so I'll confirm with that. But yeah, that's another resource that you can use. The peer advisors, we mainly cover the major advising. So we'll go over like the prerequisites you need and then the upper division courses and your restricted electives. I do see there's another question in the chat. Do you guys have any note-taking tips?
I think I would like to mention, for me, I like writing like notebooks, just like different colors, pens, trying to make it colorful and all that. I had a friend who had like an iPad that was with a keyboard. She'd flip it, take a picture, and then write with her stylus, and then, you know, type. And it was so cool. But I couldn't afford it. But if you guys have that, I mean, now I can. But if you guys have like, if you like technology and you could work it really well, then I definitely suggest that. Or if you're like, you know, going using old style notebooks, pens, and everything, then do that. It just honestly depends on you. And some courses you won't have the same note-taking style. Sometimes you'll add flashcards. So like for OChem, there's a lot of memorization, or for it depends on the course. Some of them are more writing intensive. You'll probably do a different note-taking style for that. But and then some of them, like for me, right now it's remote learning. Like I had the classes I took summer, I didn't need to do any note taking whatsoever, just listening. And then your assignments were kind of independent from it. So I'm not sure how the remote learning is going to be now, but yeah, hopefully like for me, it took me a while to adjust from high school to college. And I was like, it probably took me like 2 quarters to figure out, okay, what note taking style was best for me, which one do I like, will I even look at my notes, because sometimes I write notes and I don't even look at them. You'll learn that as time goes by.
For me, I think I had 2 things. So back when classes were in person, you had to go to campus. I like having kind of a separate places to take notes for each of my classes, but I was always scared that I'd forget a notebook if I was leaving for class. So after a couple quarters, I realized that I could get a 5-subject notebook and take all of my notes in one place and not have to worry about forgetting it because everything's in there. So that has worked out really well for me, just having a folder and section for each class. But also, a lot of professors tend, if it's a larger class, tend to have their classes filmed and then they get posted up on the websites. So I found it really useful to make note of like the date of the lecture and like potentially the number or the title. So that way you can cross-reference that with any sort of lecture video you might go back and watch later.
Yeah, a lot of professors also add their slides, usually the day before the actual lecture. So a lot of people I know like to print those out and write over the slides as they talk about it. A lot of people also use their iPads or Surface tablets. I like pen and paper, and definitely for OChem and your STEM classes, flashcards are your friend.
I personally like to, for me, I'll take notes, but the real studying comes when I rewrite my notes and review. So for me, like in class, I'll just like write out all my notes when I can. And if it's a recorded like video or there's like a podcast of it, I'll usually afterwards when I study is I'll go over it and I'll rewrite the notes, including any material that I left out. So for me, it's always like color coding or indicating like what's the new information that I need to include. And as you're going through it, you're actually like becoming familiar with it and also recognizing, oh, this might be important or this might be something that pops up on the exam. But yeah.
I think just real quick for me, it actually changes depending on the professor. So if they happen to be real, and the class too. So if the class is really memorization heavy, then a lot of times I'll resort to flashcards and less notes. Like I took a WFC 120, which was like a fish biology class, when we had some taxonomic rankings that we had to memorize. And so that one was just, pure flashcards mostly. But then there's been I think a writing class that I took. I didn't take notes at all. It was all just, sitting in class and actually engaging in the class, because we would have like conversations and stuff like that. So to me, I have to kind of fill out the class at the beginning, fill out the professor, and then I kind of adjust my note-taking style depending on, what the expectations are. And sometimes you can look in their syllabus and you can kind of see the type of format they provide. If they give you learning objectives, they might have more of a broader aspect kind of thing, where your meticulous notes might be a bit more beneficial, or if they have multiple quizzes and stuff like that, and maybe you want to take a specific kind of note too. So I would say that's my strategy. I usually kind of fill out the professor in the class first.
I did want to add, which is so good for what we were talking, for the questions we answered earlier, is when you make friends and your connections, especially like if you have someone who's already taken the class, I always would ask my friends, like, can I see your notes? And if they still had them, which is super great, because then you just kind of write down the information that that they don't already have or they don't have covered. Because sometimes, I mean, majority of the time, the professors, especially if it's quarter by quarter, they just follow the same routine, just a different set of students. And then the information will be the same. And so that's another good thing about making as many connections as you can. It will help you later down in the line. And I just realized that because on spring, I did that. I had my friend took the class and I had her notes, and then literally I was just like, okay, just add new information, and it was super easy, because then you're just having to learn the new content, not necessarily the old ones if you reviewed it early.
I see another question in chat. Do you guys have any advice for balancing classes while trying to do internships or research?
I'd say your classes always come first before your internship, and most of your professors will stress that. They're also usually they're pretty lenient on your hours and flexibility and when you come into the lab. The exception is usually like greenhouses or the fields because it's hot, but they'll always try to work around that for you. But I'd say for your first quarter, see what you can handle. If you know you're taking a hard class like OChem, maybe tell your professor that and wait before you schedule something out. But yeah, usually your professors will be pretty lenient, and just remember classes come first.
So advice I also heard when I was starting as a freshman was kind of the one thing per quarter rule. So if you're planning on adding new things to your schedule after school starts that are going to take up major time, then add one thing per quarter. So, get a handle on school, and then maybe add, lab time or major club time, or, an intramural sport, which I think is kind of a nice way to slowly ramp up and understand how you can balance all of your time and how you're already doing with that time management.
I think that a lot of the internships that I see advertised on Handshake, or even just through emails or the Etox newsletter, a lot of during class year or during the school year, they say 8 to 10 hours is what's expected. Is just kind of the normal, and some of them probably just say as much as you can, and they're willing to work with you. But I think that that's probably an expectation of a lot of the PIs, is that they would like you to commit at least 8 to 10 hours. So I would probably try to put that into your schedule if you're looking at doing an internship or something like that. And there's something else I was going to say. During the summertime, you can go a little bit more full time and do between 20 and 40 hours a week. As much as they're willing to pay for. And probably actually pay you during the summertime. During the school year, they may not have a paid internship position, which leads me to tell you one thing else I didn't really mention earlier was a lot of times they want a little bit of a commitment because they're going to train you in the process of the internship there. So you kind of are going to have to commit to a certain amount of time frame at their lab. And so if you're only going to be able to do it for a quarter or less, then you may not be the best candidate for them because it may take them a while to get you trained on the safety protocol, on the daily processes, and just to lose you to the summertime or whatever. So I felt that when I came in as a transfer student, I was a little bit behind that curve because I felt a lot of the freshmen had the ability to work in with their with professors and was already into internships and research positions, and I wasn't able to like jump in right away and make those relationships. So it took me a little while to spin up and like get into a research position. So I would say that kind of if you're going to need that for your future career, which a lot of us do, I would say try to at least get the feelers out right away and at least know who's looking, know what new professors are coming in, and just engage them so that way they know your name already when you ask them for that, instead of just cold calling or cold emailing. You actually have already had a conversation with them.
As we mentioned earlier, scheduling is so important, especially like when you have your pastimes. And then, so for that, like when I would add more stuff, like Janae said, as the quarters go by, my second quarter as a freshman, that's when I started working. But I found the telephone outreach program, which was working in the night. So I'd work from like 5 to 9 in the night and then on one shift on a Sunday. So it worked out perfectly. I would schedule my classes in the morning, the afternoons, and then just wait. And since I was there on campus, it worked out super well. And then when I added research in the lab, I would try to schedule my classes like back to back in the morning or back to back in the afternoon. Or if I couldn't, and say it was just a bizarre schedule, I wanted at least a gap of like 3 to 4 hours, because when you're doing bench work or something, or if you do an experience like the grad student in my lab, which hopefully I get to do with her, you would need that time to actually do it. And so it's kind of just, like Janae said, taking it slowly. Don't want to add too much on your plate that you can't handle. And then once you get the hang of it, and then you kind of see like as your classes, like, this class isn't that hard, so I don't really need to put as much effort or time. But like other classes, like OChem, personally for me, it took so much. I like the whole weekend would try to figure like stuff out, throughout the day, and then you kind of have to learn like don't over stress, because over stress will burn you out. But then at the same time, you get all these opportunities that you want to take advantage of, and they're there, and it's a really good thing, to get your hands on. Not a lot of students could experience this in the world, and it's just so different. But it's kind of your schedule, your time, and your mental health. Whenever my brother passed away, I had to decrease a lot of my workload because I couldn't do it anymore. That's one thing I would always want to emphasize is your mental health. I burned myself out. I was depressed. I became more anxious, and that's okay. Your professors or your PIs, the people who you communicate with, that they know you and they understand. They're in the position. Everyone goes through downfalls in their lives, and it's just communicate, and that will make your trajectory here a lot more easier.
I'd like to offer another quick bit of advice, and that's just about resume and CV. I really was not very good and still am trying to recover a little bit of constantly updating your CV and your resume because if an opportunity arises, like you happen to meet a professor and they're looking for somebody, they may ask you, well, yeah, send a resume to my email. And if it's not ready to go and it takes you a week to get it there, then that's a week gone by that they have forgot about your name or forgot about their conversation that you just had. So I wish I would have throughout my collegiate career, like every time I learned something, you know, have like a master resume, master CV, where you just add that trait or that class in there or that accomplishment in there. So that way, when it's time and somebody asks you for a CV or a resume, then it's you know, it should only, you know, take you maybe a couple hours to just tidy it up, you know, cut and paste what it is you want to portray to them, and then send it off. Because when I had to submit one not too long ago, you know, it was weeks of me trying to like pull back stuff from what I did at community college and you know, my job here. And then like, oh, you know what, my reference moved and they have new address and this and that other thing. So yeah, if you can start it early and stay on top of it, I think it goes a lot smoother and it's less stress on you to have to submit that.
I just wanted to add, there are a lot of resources on campus. The peer advisors are here for you. Susan is here for you. There's also a bunch of like counselors on campus and could help you out if you're ever having like a stressful quarter or something happened that quarter that might affect your academics or your mental health. There's always a lot of resources on campus that you can reach out to, and we'll be happy to help you. So if there aren't any other questions, I think this will be the end. Susan can't see her. If you see her, her and I will still be here until 4 p.m. So if you need any advising, we'll still be here. So yeah, you're free to go if you would like to. And I'll stop the recording now.